In the foreseeable future, an unspecified catastrophic event devastates humanity on a fateful Tuesday afternoon. The incident is so abrupt that people perish right in their places. In a quaint American town, Dell believes himself to be the last surviving soul on Earth. He has managed to establish a tranquil routine amidst this solitude. The library, where he once worked, now serves as his sanctuary. There, he meticulously tends to the books, preserving their order and condition. For sustenance, he scours supermarkets and has taken up fishing as well, as fish are among the few creatures that endure. Dell has devised a systematic way to visit the houses in the town. Each day, he selects a dwelling, carefully cleans it while protecting himself, and salvages any useful items like batteries and gas for his truck. Any discovered bodies are respectfully wrapped in their own sheets and laid to rest with the aid of an excavator. Dell marks an X before each house and meticulously records it on his map. One night, after watching an old movie, an unexpected explosion of fireworks jolts Dell awake, hinting that he might not be entirely alone. The following morning, Dell ventures into town to investigate and stumbles upon a crashed car with an unconscious driver named Grace, who had been drinking. Upon searching the car, he finds evidence that Grace was responsible for the fireworks and is armed with a gun. Later, Grace regains consciousness inside a random house, her head bandaged. She finds herself locked in, with Dell on the other side, inquiring about her presence. Grace explains that she hasn't encountered anyone else and doesn't understand why she survived. The gun she found was solely for self-defense. Dell, hesitant to let her stay, prepares a car for her escape. He agrees to open the door only if she waits for him to count to 100. But Grace breaks her promise and opens the door prematurely, causing Dell to hastily retreat. After handing her the keys, he leaves without engaging in conversation or acknowledging her wish to stay. Undeterred, Grace begins to follow Dell around, offering her assistance with cleaning. Although Dell initially rejects her as a helper, Grace persists, bringing a lively presence and chatter back into his life, which had been absent for too long. Though he shares his food with her, he insists she eats at a separate table and avoids discussing the theories behind the apocalypse. One evening, he silences Grace by revealing that he was already lonely even when surrounded by the townspeople. As Grace's attempts to connect with Dell seem fruitless, she prepares to leave. However, he has a change of heart and allows her to stay for a trial period. From that point on, Grace accompanies Dell on his house cleaning missions, learning his process. She discovers Dell's impressive memory, as he recalls the names of all the deceased in town and whether they owe any library books or late fees. During the burial of the dead, Grace finds it disconcerting that Dell remains silent, refraining from any tribute to the departed. She shares her habit of holding her breath for 10 seconds each time she encounters a body on the road, and Dell playfully indulges her by joining in. Though Dell occasionally longs for the tranquility of solitude, particularly when Grace becomes talkative during their grocery trips or plays loud music in the truck, he refrains from expressing it. One afternoon, Grace notices Dell's absence in the library and explores his office. To her surprise, she finds a meticulous organization of files containing pictures from the houses, a somewhat eerie discovery that leaves her perplexed. Seeking clarity, she goes for a bicycle ride. During her exploration, she stumbles upon a house with an unexpected survivor, a dog, defying the odds just like them. Taking it to the library, she decided to adopt it as her peculiar pet. Dell, though not finding much amusement in the situation, offered some name suggestions, but in the end, they settled for the simple moniker Dog. As the days passed, Dell and Grace found themselves growing closer, sharing meals together, and exchanging childhood stories. Grace even disclosed her past ownership of 2 goldfish. However, she remained hesitant to reveal a mysterious scar on the back of her neck, avoiding any situation that might expose it to Dell. After a few days, they discovered Dog in the act of tearing apart a book. Frustrated, Dell assigned Grace the task of cleaning up while he took the animal outside, only to end up being bitten. Grace rushed to help Dell clean the wound and administer stitches, but the incident only intensified Dell's irritation towards the dog, despite Grace showering it with affection. The next morning, Grace awoke to find Dog missing, and she couldn't understand how it happened since she had securely tied the animal. Dell admitted to having let the dog out to pee, but Grace couldn't help but suspect it was an excuse to get rid of the dog. In her fury, she got drunk and confronted Dell with files containing pictures, accusing him of objectifying people. Grace also reminded him of her own happy past, which contrasted with his bitter and solitary life. Overwhelmed with guilt, Dell sought redemption the following day by showing Grace his secret greenhouse and granting her permission to care for the plants as an apology. Indirectly signaling the end of their trial period, Dell allowed Grace to clean houses on her own, which enabled them to cover more ground efficiently. They settled into a new routine, working together as equals, and Grace began assisting with meal preparation, all the while keeping her scar concealed. During one exploration, Grace stumbled upon an unmapped house, provoking Dell's anger as it turned out to be his old home. When she pointed this out, Dell reluctantly shared the painful memories of his first encounters with death, involving young children during recess. Eventually, he relented and agreed to clean the house with Grace's help. The emotional weight of burying his own mother proved to be much harder than dealing with random bodies, and this time, Dell took more than 10 seconds to hold his breath as a farewell gesture. Once the task of sorting through Dell's family home is completed, an intriguing revelation arises when Grace decides to confess something to him. However, instead of straightforwardly speaking her mind, she employs a tender kiss to lull Dell into sleep. Upon awakening the next morning, Dell finds himself in the same house where he had initially brought Grace. Surprisingly, he discovers Grace having breakfast with two additional survivors named Violet and Patrick. Strangely cheerful, they are introduced as Grace's parents, though Grace appears uncertain about this label. The truth comes to light as they explain that thousands of survivors reside together in a community in California, a reality unknown to Dell, who had never considered leaving his town to seek others. This revelation leaves Dell infuriated, feeling deceived by Grace, as he believed they were the last survivors on Earth. Storming out of the house, Dell ignores Grace's attempts to explain that Violet and Patrick are not her real parents, but adults assigned to her by the community. The idea seems absurd to her, but Dell is too angry to care, and he drives back to the library to release his pain. Meanwhile, Violet implores Grace to return to California with them, as she can no longer handle the situation alone, and they yearn to be a genuine family. Before departing, Patrick visits Dell at the library, extending an invitation for him to join them in California, acknowledging the value of his skills. The prospect of a team of doctors working on groundbreaking advancements in understanding the complexities of the human mind fails to impress Dell, but he appreciates Patrick's gesture and the address written in a random book in case he has a change of heart. As Grace leaves the town with Violet and Patrick, she weeps, contemplating the scars on her new parents' necks and what awaits her in California. Attempting to return to his old routine, Dell finds himself increasingly bothered by the loneliness and silence, prompting him to vent his frustration by tossing objects at his old house. In his dreams, he sees Grace playing old movies in the library, a reminder of the camaraderie he had with her. Overwhelmed by memories, Dell sifts through the files filled with pictures to describe the faces, names, occupations, personalities, and reading preferences of the people he encountered. This introspection makes him realize that he was never truly alone and that his solitary lifestyle no longer suits him. Desperate to find the address Patrick had left behind, Dell rummages through the library, less concerned about preserving the books for once. With ample supplies and determination, he embarks on a long and challenging journey to California, knowing that his survival skills will be valuable in the community of fellow survivors. As he encounters blocked roads or runs out of gas, he smoothly transitions into abandoned vehicles, ensuring his journey to California remains uninterrupted. The sight of a bustling city's glowing lights overwhelms Dale upon reaching his destination, yet he persists, suppressing his antisocial tendencies to find Grace's residence. Waiting until nightfall when everyone retires, Dale stealthily enters the house, armed with a gun. What he discovers in Grace's room is deeply disturbing. She is hooked up to a machine, undergoing behavior modification to erase the trauma of the apocalypse and the loss of her family. Astonishingly, every member of the community has undergone the same treatment, a means to attain happiness and move forward. Without delay, Dale apologizes for his past behavior and promptly disconnects Grace from the machine. Miraculously, she is strong enough to stand and leave with him. While making their escape, they encounter Patrick, who attempts to dissuade them, advocating for their system as the best way to find contentment. Unswayed, Grace seizes the gun and shoots him on the spot. As Violet appears on the scene, she mentions her past as a mother but remains eerily composed, seeking to clean up the blood as if it were a mere spill. Collecting supplies and Grace's goldfish, the duo departs the town, oblivious to the artificial happiness displayed by its inhabitants. As they hit the road, Grace admits no remorse for shooting Patrick, a sentiment that Dale readily accepts, accelerating towards their next destination. And that's how the movie ends. Did you think Grace did the right thing? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Until next time, this is Flick Spoilers signing off.